There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep never reaches. It does not come from the body, it comes from the holding, from the endless low effort of trying to keep life in the shape you need it to be, trying to be happy, trying to be calm, trying to make the ground stay solid under your feet. You have done everything right, or nearly. You worked for the security, chased the peace, arranged the circumstances, and still there is this thin, humming dissatisfaction underneath it all, like a note that will not resolve. The more you reach for the thing, the more it seems to step back into the dark, just past the light of your hands. This is not a personal failure. It is a law older than you, older than your striving. Alan Watts called it the backwards law, the stranger truth that the harder you grasp for a thing, the more surely you push it away. That when you try to stay on the surface of the water, you sink, and when you let yourself sink, you float. If you are tired in a way that rest does not fix, this is not a lecture about relaxing. You have tried to relax, and trying to relax is its own kind of work. This is something quieter, a walk into the machinery of why the reaching itself is the thing that keeps the prize away. Not the story of a weakness, the story of a good hand, gripping too tightly on something that could only ever be held by an open palm. No child grips the world by choice. A child grips because the ground moved. Somewhere early, for reasons that may have had nothing to do with you, the floor was not reliable. Maybe the moods of the house changed like weather with no forecast. Maybe love came and went on a schedule you could not predict, so you learned to watch, to manage, to anticipate. Maybe safety was something you had to earn again each morning, and never got to simply have. And a child in an unpredictable world makes a discovery that feels like salvation. If I control enough, I will be safe. If I hold tightly enough, nothing will be taken. If I watch every variable and arrange every outcome and need nothing I have not first secured, then the ground cannot move under me again. Understand what happened here. This was intelligence, not neurosis. A small mind facing chaos built the one tool that seemed to work, the grip, the vigilance, the refusal to let life be uncertain, because uncertainty had already hurt too much. But the grip that saved the child becomes the cage of the adult, because the world does not actually answer to control the way the child hoped, and so the grip does not relax with age, it tightens. Every disappointment teaches it to hold harder. Every loss confirms its ancient fear, that to loosen even slightly is to be swept away. By the time you're grown, the grip wears 100 faces. The plans inside the plans, the mind that rehearses tomorrow at 3 a.m., the inability to simply enjoy a good moment without already bracing for its ending, the chase after happiness that quietly turns happiness into one more thing to achieve and then to defend. You are not doing this because you are broken. You are doing it because long ago holding on was the only way you knew to stay alive. Here is the law the grip has never understood. Watts pointed to it with a simple image. Muddy water, he said, is best cleared by leaving it alone. Stir it to make it clear, and you only cloud it more. Reach in to grab the clarity, and you destroy the very stillness that clarity is made of. Some things do not come by effort. They come only by the ending of effort. He called it the law of reversed effort. When you try to float, you tense, and the tension pulls you under. When you stop fighting the water holds you up. The buoyancy was always there. It was the struggle against it that made you drown. And notice the cruelty hidden inside this, the thing that makes it feel like a trap. You cannot simply decide to stop struggling, because deciding to stop is one more move in the struggle. The effort to relax is still effort, The attempt to let go is still a kind of holding, now clutching the idea of letting go. This is the knot the seeking mind can never untie, because the mind that would untie it is the knot. Carl Jung would recognize the one who grips as a persona, the controller, the manager, the one who keeps it all together. A mask worn so long, it is mistaken for the face. And every persona casts a shadow. If your conscious identity is the one who holds, then what got exiled, driven underground, is the one who could let go. The part of you that could trust, that could rest inside not knowing, that could float. It did not die. Jung was clear that what we refuse does not vanish. It only waits. And it leaks out sideways in the sudden, strange longing to blow it all up, to disappear, to finally stop performing the endless competence. That longing is not self-destruction. It is the buried self asking to breathe. Krishnamurti named the deepest layer of it. The trouble, he said, is that the one watching is forever trying to change the thing it watches, as though they were two. The controller inside you strains against the anxiety inside you, and the straining is the anxiety. There are not two of you. There is one movement divided against itself, calling the war self-improvement. And Viktor Frankl, writing from the far side of a suffering most of us will never touch, saw the same reversal in a smaller, sharper form. He noticed that the more a person aims directly at happiness, the more surely he misses it. Happiness, Frankl said, cannot be pursued. It can only ensue. It arrives as the side effect of a life given to something larger than the self, and it flees the instant you turn to seize it and demand to know whether it has come. The pursuit of happiness is the surest way to guarantee its absence, because the pursuing is itself a form of the lack. Ram Dass folded the whole thing into a single sentence. We are all, he said, just walking each other home, not securing the home, not building higher walls around the home. Walking, which is motion, which is trust, that the ground will meet the foot that has not yet landed. So here is the sentence that will not feel good to hear. The security you have spent your life chasing does not exist, and the chase itself is what makes you feel its absence. Watts said it without flinching. The desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are the same thing. To hold your breath is to lose your breath. The very act of grasping for solid ground announces, in every cell, that the ground is not solid. A person who actually felt safe would have no need to grip at all. This is why the advice always fails. Just let go. Just be present. Just stop worrying. You have heard it, maybe whispered it to yourself 1,000 times in the dark, and it has never once worked. Because the advice speaks to the controller and asks the controller to control its way out of controlling. It is like ordering yourself to fall asleep. The command is the very thing keeping you awake. You cannot effort your way to the end of effort. The wall was not built by reason, and reason cannot talk it down. Look closely at the machinery because it is subtle. Seeking happiness installs a monitor. Now some part of you stands off to the side of every moment, measuring, am I happy yet? Is this it? Is this enough? And the monitoring is a quiet misery that guarantees you are never simply inside your life, only ever auditing it. Seeking control turns the whole of existence into a threat, because everything that cannot be controlled, which is nearly everything, becomes an enemy at the gate. You wanted to feel safe. Instead, you built a world in which you are surrounded, on every side, by what you cannot hold. And seeking certainty about the future robs you of the one place you were ever actually alive, which is here, now, the single moment the grip cannot bear, to inhabit, because the present cannot be secured, it can only be lived. The mind that must know how the story ends can never be inside any of its pages. This is the reversal at the center of the wound. The strategy that promised to bring you peace is made of the very same substance as your unrest. You are not failing to reach the shore. You are swimming, with tremendous strength, away from it and calling the exhaustion progress. And some part of you knows, some part suspects that the holding is the problem and still cannot stop, because to stop feels like dying. To the grip, surrender and annihilation are the same word. Of course you resist. Letting go feels like proving the child's oldest terror right, that the moment you loosen your hands, the ground will open and you will fall. For most people who live this way, the loosening does not arrive as a decision. It arrives as a defeat. The mystics called it the dark night of the soul, and Jung would have called it the necessary death that every real becoming asks for. It comes when the grip finally meets something it cannot hold, a loss that will not be managed, an ending that will not be argued with, a night when the plans run out, and the controlling mind, for once, has nothing left to do. You reach the end of your strength. And the terror is that the end of your strength feels like the end of you. But watch closely, because everything turns here. What is collapsing is not you. It is the grip. The controller who believed the whole world was resting in his hands is discovering that it never was. And the discovery feels like falling, because he spent a lifetime terrified of precisely this. And yet, you fall and you are not destroyed. You let go because there is no strength left to hold with, and the water you fought for so long simply holds you up. This is the thing the struggle could never learn, and only the defeat could teach. The floating was always available. It was never waiting on the far side of more effort. It was waiting on the far side of the effort ending. You did not have to earn the ground. You had to stop demanding that it be solid, and let it be an ocean, which does not carry you in spite of its movement, but because of it. And in that surrender, something you have not felt since before the grip began begins to return. Rest. Not the rest of collapse, but the rest of a thing that has finally stopped fighting its own nature. The swimmer at last floating. There is an old truth the grasping never believe, until grasping itself has failed them. You were never separate from the current you were fighting. The security you reached for was never a place to arrive. It was a way of travelling available the instant you stopped insisting the river hold still. Watts saw that the only way to make peace with a changing world is to dance with it. And in dancing, you are not trying to reach any particular spot on the floor. The point of the dance is the dancing. The point of the music was never the final note. The mystic and the psychologist arrive in the end in the same quiet room. Both of them stop trying to conquer the flow of things and begin, instead, to trust it. The persona lays down its vigilance. The shadow, the one who could let go, is welcomed back into the light. And the war inside, the watcher against the watched, goes quiet, because it was only ever one life pretending to be two. So if you are the one who holds, this is not another thing to master, not one more surrender to achieve by effort, which would only be the grip again, wearing a spiritual mask. Only this. The next time you feel yourself reaching, tightening, straining to secure the moment before it can slip away, notice the hands, and do not force them open. Only let them be seen. The loosening will not come from more trying. It comes the way sleep comes, the way floating comes, the way clarity returns to troubled water. On its own, quietly, the moment you finally stop stirring it. The child who learned to hold on did a wise and holy thing to survive a world that would not hold still, and that child does not have to hold the ocean anymore. You can let go now. The water was always going to hold you. It was only the holding on that ever felt like drowning.